Well, guys, I got a whole handful of generic pain right here. This is from Al Sutter up in Ontario, Canada. Now, I understand we got some subscribers from the new administration, and I'm going to try to turn this into a little bit of an educational process as well. So, Canada is a small, ice-covered country located to our north. It's full of friendly people, so there's no reason to put any kind of travel ban or solar panel wall, nothing like that. It's going to be necessary. So anyway, let's get back to Al's lock here. It looks like he's machined off the entire face of this lock. I don't know if it looked like this side or not, but it doesn't really matter. We're after this part. I do have a mummied key here, but we don't need that stinking key. This is not the first time I picked this lock, and I want to lead you through all of the pain that I went through, my entire learning curve. Al definitely is a viewer. He knows how I pick locks. He's paid a lot of attention, and he's designed this lock specifically to frustrate the heck out of me. So let me go ahead and put it in a vise, and I'll show you exactly what we're talking about here. It truly is. This has kept me busy for hours. All right, take a look first. It is a Schlage keyway, and we knew it was a Schlage because we saw the Schlage key. But what you can't see is when you take a look down inside. I took a very quick glance down the bottom of this keyway, and it looks like it's a Primus. I believed there were fingers on the bottom because you could see them when you look down inside of there. So I thought, great, a Primus. That means I have to use top of the keyway. So that's exactly what I did. So let's go through that one time, and I'll show you how Al whipped me the first time. All right, top of the keyway. I'm going to use the long one because it is inset a little bit. And I'm just going to grab, doesn't really matter what pick you take to start with. I'm going to use this standard hook. This is from the Praxis kit, the 23,000. All right, so slide them in. You find the binders, and they're right there on the front, the first two. So I get a little bit of a false set, and then you get some counter rotation right there on pin number 1. If I can get on him. And how easy was that? We're open, right? Wrong answer. It spins freely. Get nothing out of this lock. It doesn't open the lock. It just spins. So right away, I realize what Al has done to me. He's forced me to use top of the keyway, and he split the core right around pin number 2 or pin number 3, and it is a split core lock. So I have to find some way to bind the first half of the core with the second half of the core. So what do? Well, you get a tension wrench, let me see, and you take him and you shove him all the way in the bottom as far as you can. And the idea is you're going to apply tension to the entire core. Not just this first half, but all of it at the same time. So you slide the tensioner in there, and he only goes in that far because he slams into what I thought were those finger pins that you'd find in a Primus. Now, if you move it around and jiggle it, you can put it in the middle of the keyway, and you can pretty much get him in. But the problem is when you do that, you don't have any room to pick, none at all. So you got to find a way to get around whatever that blockage is that he's put in there. And the blockage is right about that far, right about halfway. So I had to create a tensioner. So here's what it looks like. All I did is I just took a standard feeler gauge, a windshield wiper insert, and I just ground off this little bit right here. The idea being that this will tension the first half of the core, and then this little cutaway will allow it to slide over whatever that blockage is, and then that little bit there will tension the back of it. And in fact, when I slide it in there, I can jiggle it, and it does go all the way in. So I'm working along the right path here. So I'm thinking I got this lock whipped. So let me go ahead and get another. I'm going to use the same pick except in 15,000, also from the Praxis kit. And this is where it gets a little bit harder. All right, so all the way in. And it's still going to be pretty tight. All right, light tension, and let's truly pick the lock this time. Okay, that also was pin number 3. There's my counter rotation from pin number 1. And now I've had the first half of the core picked, I believe. Now the tension that I'm feeling on the tension wrench is from the back half of this core. So let me see if I can get him in there at an angle and find the binders back there. Okay, that was 5. Not yet. And right about here is where Al got me for the 3rd time. The spring on the back half of this core is incredibly powerful. So I wasn't putting enough tension. I must have picked him a half a dozen times and not known it. So I find that after I pick a pin, I really have to put some torque on that. And you can see right now I do not have him picked. So there's something in there still holding us up. Now I'm looking for feedback. Feels like pin 5 again. And this is where I almost break the pick. Come on, get in there. I have to keep a good amount of tension to keep from losing what I got. And now, look how much tension it takes on this thing. I mean, really, it almost takes 2 hands. Ah, dang it, we almost got him. I think we're going to end up breaking this pick. I'm going to take a screwdriver and put him right here and turn that, hopefully turn that core. And there we go. We finally got him. So I don't know what kind of spring Al has jammed up in here, but it came off of like a Farmall tractor from 1962, I think. Incredible. So he beat me with the blockage. He beat me with the split core. He obviously knew how I was going to tension it. But I got to say, he had faith in me. He believed that eventually I would get it open because he included these 2 little Allen wrenches. Now, I know what this guy's for. We have to take this out. And I have not gutted this thing yet, so this will be, from this point forward, is we're tilling fresh ground. Come on out of there. Okay, now when we get him out, grab a pair of pliers, and I can pull the spring out of our way. Hopefully, without breaking him. That ball bearing is blocking us. All right, let me get a flashlight. Okay, I believe we can just go around that spring. Just go right through him, and this is the other side of the tension wrench, or Allen wrench. And it's the right size. Thank you, Al. At least you're having a little bit of pity on me. And there's our bottom screw, bottom plate. We got little ball bearings falling out of here. Let me go ahead and get the tray up here so we can keep all this stuff kind of organized. Put our ball bearing up here and the plug. All right, so then he slides out, hopefully. All right. We do have an anti-bypass wafer, so that wouldn't have worked. But what I'm looking at here, it looks like we are missing 2 pins. They are threaded, but there's nothing in them at all. Let's take a look. Before I go any further, let's go ahead and lock it up and take a look at the key. Man, you did not want me to get in here. Okay, nice cutaway. That's well, let's take a look. Let's compare these. All right, so the key compared to our tension wrench. So I at least guessed that part mostly right. And it does work. It goes clockwise very nicely, but he seems to kind of get caught up when you bring him back a little bit, but it does work. No complaints. Since we really don't know what we're dealing with here, I am going to go ahead and take the Allen screws out of the top. Probably going to be yet a 3rd size. What do you know? All right, so pin 1. It's a spool with a tiny little spring. Number 2. Missing number 3 and 4 kind of bothers me, I gotta say. I know they didn't fall out, otherwise they'd have been trapped inside of the lock. Okay, we have standard. Okay, number 5. Okay, we have serrated. And come out of there. He's not coming out. It's a little bit offset. Maybe I should put that key in there to align everything. There he is, standard. And then the last one, I'm really curious what we're going to find located halfway down the keyway. Again, we got a spool. I have to take this off the back in order to find out. Okay, now the fun begins. Come on. Come out. Well, let's put the key in and try to get him out. Maybe there's another hidden pin in there that I cannot get him to cooperate here. All right, there's nothing in there for sure. Violence, it's always an option. He's spinning freely. Check it out. Oh, that was that's from the detent pin in the back. The front one is not rotating very freely though. He gets tight when you turn him right there, really tight, like there's a detent in there or something. There's as I'm looking down here, I notice there's another hole. I don't think there's anything in it though. Come on. Guys, I don't know what to tell you here. I'm not getting any cooperation out of this thing. There has to be a way. I'm spinning looking for what could possibly be holding that in there. All right, I'm going to turn the core upside down. At least it seems like there's a little release of pressure there, but I get nothing. Come on. Definitely, we're turning the front half and the back half's not turning. So it looks to me like the middle is just missing. But I'll be darned if I know how he has that thing in there. So let me get off camera rather than bore you to death on this and figure this out. All right, guys, took me a little bit of time to figure this one out. This is the front half of this core. Now, when they're like that, now notice this little groove right here. Now, what happened is I actually looked down inside of this hole on the top here with a flashlight, and I found 2 Allen screws. I've already taken the first one out. So what happens is this little detent screws all the way down inside of there, and that little machine tip fits into this groove to keep it from sliding in and out. Very cool, anti-drills. All right, so we got that part figured out. So he was in number 3. Let's go ahead and take this other one out. It's all the way down in the depths of that drilled out threaded hole. And there he is. We got another one. This one's a little shorter, but once we do it, he slides right out of there. Now, let's take a look at what was stopping us. Remember, this was there was something blocking us, and this was it. There's our groove, and that was at the halfway mark. Notice the bottom of this keyway. This was actually the back of the lock at one point. So we have the bottom of the keyways closed up. That's the barrier. So when we were trying to slide our tensioner in there through this guy, so that was the front, he's open on the back, and that little bottom was blocked. So when we were trying to slide that in there, he was hitting that little barrier, preventing us from going any further. So to get around it, we use this guy, slid him in the bottom, trying to do this through the camera lens, and it was just enough to slide through there. I'm going to take the front half of the lock off. Just enough to slide in there to allow us to tension the front core and the rear core at the same time. I think luck had a lot to do with this. Anyway, as always, luck had a lot to do with it. You get all these little pieces all back together. Anyway, Al, I am blown away. I guess in ice-covered country, you guys don't have a lot to do up there besides you come up with these devious little tricks, and you got me. Not once, not twice, but you got me 4 times on this thing. The spring, we did forget to look at the spring in here because it was incredibly powerful. I'm not going to be so stupid as to pull it out of there. It's a nice thick spring down there wrapped around the actuator. I am not going to pull them out because I probably, without the right tools, would never have a way to get them back in there. Anyway, very powerful spring, so you got me 4 different ways in this, Al. Thanks for your time, obviously all the effort, design work you put into this. I appreciate it. Everybody else, stay safe, stay legal. Maybe we should have a travel ban on Canada after what Al did to me. Dang.